everybody. How is everybody? Welcome to Hanrahan's Irish Pub. Let's give our guest, Markel, a big round of applause. And a bigger round of applause for the owner, Jimmy Clark. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Clarky.
Hey, if it's your birthday, I heard you had to buy a round for everybody. Is that true? I just got kicked out.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming out on a miserable Wednesday, rainy night, but it's nice and dry in here. If the fire alarm goes off, it's okay. It's just us showing up.
Exactly.
It's all good. So, again, thanks, everybody, for coming out. We got some great raffle prizes over here. Come up and see the crew for your 2 free ones. And dig deep in your pocket for $1 a piece on some extras. All the money goes back to the Humane Pennsylvania Society tonight. And I'm going to throw it over to Lauren real quick. She can talk about this fine organization that she helps run.
Thank you very much. So yeah, as you mentioned, all the raffle money tonight is going back to Humane Pennsylvania. That's where I work. I'm the director of development. We do a lot of work for animals in need in the area. So primarily based out of Berks and Lancaster County, but we do have a presence throughout the state and nationwide. So we have our walk for the animals set for Saturday, May 4th. So all this money that we're raising tonight is going to go back and support that. We're hoping to raise about $100,000 for the walk in total, so this will be part of that. We bring in about 2,000 animals a year, adopt most of them back out. We also have veterinary services and then programs in the community to support pet owners in need. So we've been around since 1900, so we've been doing this for a long time. So if you got an extra buck or two, I'd appreciate you buying some apples tonight. So, thank you.
Great job. All right, so we got that out of the way, and I'm going to be pounding you for the next hour about that because we need to raise a couple of bucks. Lauren, I'd like to get the mic over to Brian Friel. Talk a little bit about, Brian just had a great event here this past Saturday. Talk a little bit about that, speaking about raising some money.
Does this mean you want me to sing, Carl?
8 o'clock, you're on.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out last Saturday and see some faces that were here. We raised $16,700 for St. Francis Ministries in Kensington. Thanks to the Bucko and the whole area. Thank you very much, Paul.
You're welcome, Brian. Continued success with that. That's awesome. Questions, comments? Lauren will be walking around the room. Don't be bashful. If you've got a question, I'm sure Mark's got an answer. The more fun we have, the better it is. We're live on Facebook, so the whole show is being taped and sent back through YouTube, Facebook, via StreamYard. So, it's an honor to have Mark. We had him a couple of years ago, I guess.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago up at another pub that we used to do up in the Northeast. And Mark reminded me it took 2 hours and 15 minutes to get here tonight. So I was like, okay.
Traffic's a little bad with the rain.
Yeah, blaming on that damn rain. But anyway, welcome everybody. We got 2 great waitresses walking around, serving all the tables. Take care of them. Take care of your bartenders, please. This is a fine establishment, and we like coming back every month. So the more you help out, the better it is. So I'm going to throw it over to my partner over here. John, what do you got?
Well, this is a great honor to have hockey royalty in the house with your family. Tell us a little bit about growing up with your dad and some of your experiences, younger growing up before you even, got into things.
I don't know, growing up in our household, I would imagine it's like growing up in any other household. My dad happened to be a hockey player. He could have very well been working for the post office behind me, whatever. And basically, my mother ran the household,
Right.
and so we, it was 4 children, and she found the time to make sure my brother Marty and I got to the rink. My younger brother Murray got to the rink. My sister Kathy got to go to her track meets and whatever she was doing. And she put in all the legwork and all the time. And she basically told us, the rights and the wrongs. But I think the thing I appreciated the most about my parents is that they let us learn life lessons on our own. And we all make mistakes, and you didn't make the mistake a second time because then you got in trouble for it. But and then as I got older, my parents were always there for support. So that was I had a wonderful upbringing, a tremendous home life, and I'm eternally thankful for that.
Yeah. And were you able to get much time to go and visit your dad in the locker room before games at times?
Yeah, I was a rink rat as a kid, so but I think I started playing on organized teams when I was 4, and by the time we were 8 or 9, I was playing 100 games a year and practicing 3 days a week. But whenever I could, I went to every Red Wing game that I could, and I was a rink rat. And when the Red Wings played, and you had to walk through the corridor to get to the locker room, and I would stand right next to the door, and if the Red Wings had a good game, Dad would just grab my hand. I go walking in the locker room, and if they didn't have a good game and they were get an earful, Dad would go like this, and he'd put out 5 fingers, and then the usher standing next to the door, he'd let me in 5 minutes later once things calmed down. But then I got a little older. When I was 14, actually, my parents let me miss a week of school, and the Red Wings let me partake in training camp up in Port Huron, Michigan.
Wow.
So and I was lucky. I mean, I'm actually probably 10 pounds lighter now than when I was 14. And so I was about a little over 190 pounds back then, which was big for a hockey player back in the 70s. And so I took part in all the scrimmages and everything else. So so from the Red Wing coaches to all the players and personnel, but I ran the press box for a couple of years, and whenever I had free time before I had my driver's license, if I had an opportunity to go down and skate at the old Olympia, I'd have somebody drop me off at 9 in the morning and pick me up about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I would skate all by myself out there. And the great guy worked in the building, Jesse, he'd make me hot dogs and popcorn. So give me a couple of sodas. And that's what got me through the day. So my whole life was about hockey. I always loved it. And like I said, if you asked me during my playing career if I had to go do 8 hours of extra work, you'd have a hard time. But as a kid growing up, it was just a wonderful experience.
Beautiful. That's great.
Hey, the trade deadline is, we're fast forwarding this to Friday. The trade deadline is Friday for the NHL, and there seems to be, and I bring this up because you're recently retired from scouting, right?
Correct.
So, and I'm sure you still got a pretty good handle on, things that go on throughout the league. Is this a big year for teams to make moves? Because it just seems like it's energized a little bit early this year.
Yep. The deadline used to really begin maybe a week before, but I would say as of maybe 8 to 10 years ago, teams started making a move about roughly 4 weeks before the trade deadline, and that kind of would get the ball rolling. But it normally heats up a little bit within the last week. The one thing that's pretty true is there will be 4 or 5 trades where people overpay and you don't get the results. But there will be 1 or 2 that work out, and you just never know until you make them. But if I know working with Detroit for a lot of years, we were always in a real good position to win a Stanley Cup. And not only like do you have to judge it whether it's the right move or not, but if you have a legitimate chance of winning a cup and other teams that you're going to be playing against in the playoffs trying to get out of your conference, if they're making trades or adding to your team, it really looks bad to your own team. It looks bad in that locker room if you're not doing anything to help your team improve. And if not, and I know in Detroit we were so good a couple of years, there wasn't really much we could do to improve our team. But you're always going to have injuries, so you always needed guys for depth. And the years that we won the cup, every single guy that we traded for impacted, the outcome of the Stanley Cups.
Do you see a big push this year for whatever reason? I mean, there just seems to be a couple of 2 or 3 teams that have been making some moves, like Colorado, let's say. They just seem very aggressive.
Yeah, there's always going to be a few teams, and a lot of times if you're in the managerial side, you have to assess your team because you only have a certain window. If you're going back 15 years ago, legitimately going to the playoffs, you had 5 or 6 teams that were one of those 6 teams was going to win the cup. I would say over the last 4 years, and I say this honestly, if you get in the playoffs, you really have a chance. I mean, the parity in the league, and obviously, I think in the East right now, Florida is probably playing as well as anybody. Whether they're peaking too early, I don't know. But for me, they would be the team to beat in the East. And I know the one thing with the Flyers, it's the Flyers are in a quote-unquote rebuild year. Which normally it's a couple-year process. And they got a real chance of making the playoffs. On the way here, I was listening to their schedule coming up. They have an incredibly difficult schedule, and it might make or break them. But it's kind of a catch-22. If you make a trade and make your team a little weaker, I think it hurts your chances to make the playoffs. But it also slows the process. But that's why I think a lot. I believe in the management they have in place now, and and the analytical numbers generally play out. If you're getting a first or second round pick for a player, you have a pretty good chance of getting a player in the draft that will be playing for your team. But if you're getting a third round pick, I think the percentages are only like 19 or 20% of those players ever make it to the NHL. So a third round pick might sound like a lot. And only, like I said, you're 1 in 5 shot.
Right.
So it's third round pick is not all that it's cracked up to be, unless you get lucky and you hit the right guy at the right time in the draft.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it was nice the Flyers traded Walker today and he picked up a first round pick. So, it was a good move. Like I said, maybe hurt you a little bit this year for the playoffs.
Oh, it hurts you for sure, but. And on the other side, you have a bunch of young players, I think, that have stepped up and played better than what was anticipated this year.
Right.
But with the loss of either trade or injuries comes opportunity. And for a lot of these young players, it's more of an opportunity to prove themselves to the coaches, to the organization, and to themselves. I remember, my first 2 years here. Bobby Clark ran our locker room. Billy Barber was a tremendous influence. When they retired, then the leadership opportunity became available. And so they named Davey Poulin captain. He came in, proved himself. Brad Marsh, myself, guys like Brad McCrimmon. That was your opportunity to step up. And to me, what a leader is, you lead on the ice. It's not what you're saying in the locker room. It's leading by example.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and the Flyers, like I said, they're in a rebuild, but they've been pretty competitive this year. In most games, Harrison stepped up, in goal, and they're really playing pretty well, which hopefully makes the future that much greater.
I think so. I think if you're getting first round draft picks for players, it's pretty hard not to make the deal. That's why I'd be behind that 100%. And I always judge the game. I've been to 5 games this year, and I always judge the game not by so much what I see on the ice. It's by the energy I get. When I walk out of a building and I'm charged on the inside, so I was at the Ranger Flyer game. The Rangers won 2-1. It was a great fight in the first period, and it reminded me of my old buddy Glenn Cochran when that kind of fight. When I left that building, I had energy. I was charged, and I didn't get any of that the year before. So, and I had 1 or 2 other games. So that's what I like to see when I go see the game. I want to be, like I said, even when I scouted, I love for the whole team to win all the time. Just because when you walked out, you went for a bite to eat, maybe a beer after the game. The hometown crowd, they're charged, they're excited, and to me, it just makes the game that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, and you can see a big difference this year. Just the passing and speed of the team is a lot different than it was last year. In the past couple of years.
Yeah, they definitely increased their team speed. I know the team has known that for a couple of years, and it needed to be addressed. And I think the Flyers have done an outstanding job, addressing that issue. And I'm sure it's going to get better.
Right. Yeah, and with a couple of guys, the Russians, possibly coming over, that will help. That seems like what they're missing a little bit is that one big playmaker scorer. Push them over the top in some of those closer games.
Well, you need star players, and there's always key positions. So if you go back and look at a lot of the Stanley Cup winners of the last 20, 25 years, and you look at the defenses of those teams, like I said, you go back to the Jersey Devils years ago, and it's just start with Stevens and Niedermeyer and Brian Rafalski. I mean, that's 3 great players. In Detroit, we had Nicholas, who was one of the all-time best, and and Konstantinov, and the other guys you put around it. And you get to Chicago, they had 3 guys that probably played 40 minutes on ice with Duncan Keith leading the way, and you look at Boston with Chara, and the Flyers need. And they're working toward that, building a really strong defense. And you got to be strong up the middle of the rink. Obviously you want to have a goaltender. So I know working in Detroit, missed the playoffs 7 years, and we knew it 3 years before then. But it's hard, like trying to rebuild those positions. And if you don't have those positions filled, it's really difficult too. And the ultimate point, you're building your team to win a Stanley Cup. You're not building a team to make the playoffs.
Right.
You're building a team that's going to be a legitimate contender for a Stanley Cup. And you have to have those positions filled.
Yeah, no, exactly.
All right. A lot of energy in the room. I know there's a lot of questions.
If anyone has a question for Mark, just feel free to put your hand up. I've got a hand right here.
Hi, Mark.
No.
I'm actually planning on getting this signed. I don't know if you saw this movie, and if you saw it, what do you think of it?
The NHL hockey.
Yeah, I saw it. I liked how they portrayed my mother in it. That was about it. So it was a little fabricated. I know in the story they showed a couple scenes where my dad and I were fighting. That never ever happened in my lifetime. I'm sure I deserved to get a little crap from my parents, but no, it was put together quick. I know Howard Baldwin, who was the managing general partner of the Hartford Whalers, so I got to know Howard. And Howard has always been a huge supporter of the house, especially my mother. And he was trying to get a made-for-motion picture movie done, and he was just unable to get the financing for it. This ended up being the end product, and actually the whole thing got put together in about 3 weeks. So but it misportrayed a number of players. A couple guys I've played with, like Smokey McLeod, our coach Billy Deneen, who coached here with the Flyers too. Wonderful, wonderful man. And I think I didn't like the way it portrayed some of those guys, but I did love how it portrayed my mother.
All right, we got another question from the audience.
Where are we at?
Oh, in the middle there. Oh, is that right? Can't stand in front of the speaker.
Were you able to make that up?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we thought the fire alarm went off again. Okay.
Do you have to bring back the experience to the 72 Olympic team? Is that considered a mixture of the way so
Yeah, I couldn't make it all out real good, but yeah,
Your experience at the 72.
yeah,
72
playing with the '72 Olympic team, playing in Sapporo, Japan. I was in 11th grade in high school, so it was great for me. I got 6 weeks away from school, but I only ended up on that team just by fate. The year before, I was playing junior in Detroit, and I had a bad knee injury right at the end of the playoffs. So it was like first week of June. They initially thought it was ligament damage, so I rehabbed during the summer. They thought it would be okay, and I was going to go sign with the Toronto Marlboros of the Ontario Hockey League with my brother Marty. And if you did that, you received $10 a week expense money, so you were considered a pro. So once you went to junior, you could no longer come back and play college hockey, and in my play, you couldn't come play in the Olympics. And but what happened was I was playing a game mid-August, little summer hockey, and I blew my knee out again, and ended up once they went in, I had torn my cartilage all the way through. Well, back in the day, you end up with a 12 or 14-inch scar, and they knew I'd be on the sidelines for at least 2.5 months rehabbing. So rather than go to Toronto, I said, well, let me just stay in Detroit and see how it goes. I was going to stay back with our junior wings team. And then our junior team, we ended up having an exhibition game right after Christmas against the Olympic hockey team. And I set that kind of as my target date to get back because I wanted to play against them. So that was the first game I had played in about 6 months. And they were looking for a little depth for their team, a couple extra guys. They liked what they saw. I got invited to Minnesota. I spent a week in Minnesota, and then I got invited to stay on the team. And it was a small role. It was fourth line, up and down grind. My job was to dump the puck in and run people over. So I did the best I could, tried to keep the puck out of my net. So we went from we toured around for about 3 weeks. Then we spent I think it was about a week to 10 days out in Colorado Springs training to get used to the elevation. Then we we spent a week in Tokyo to get acclimated to the time change. Then we went up to Sapporo, and I've always thanked Robbie Fatorik, Dick McGlynn, and Stu Irving, 3 guys from Boston and especially Robbie. He led me around by the hand, a little 16-year-old kid running around like crazy out in the country of Japan, and which I absolutely loved. And our guys put it together at the right time. We came home with a silver medal, and it was funny. About a month ago, I did an interview, and everybody said, "What'd you do the day after you got home?" I said, "I had class at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day, so I went to school." So. But it was a tremendous stepping stone in the development of my career. And like I said, I learned so much over a 6-week period about life that you would have never ever been taught in school. And being away from home and all that, I will always cherish those moments.
Great question. Great answer. Anybody else? Question, comment? We're going to run out of time, and you're going to wish you asked that question.
We do have one. The speaker should be better.
Maybe not.
Hey, Mark, big fan. Just a question. You played with a lot of great players throughout the 80s teams, and I was just wondering if you had, an opinion about who you think should be in the Hall of Fame. I always thought, Brian Proctor was a little, and I always thought, Brad Marsh, I mean, I know plus minus is a big deal, and I got like close to 280 or something like that, and I think that's pretty crazy that our main over. Just thinking that there's a couple guys that you can name and you would think that just maybe
Well, I played with a lot of great players. I mean, you can go down the list of maybe possible candidates might be Timmy Kerr scoring 50 goals a year, 4 straight years. Brian Propp playing over 1,000 games, putting all the points he did, putting together. Ron Hextall had a wonderful career. Rick Tocchet began everything here and had a wonderful career. And if anybody, Brad McCrimmon. And I obviously, I know I talked to somebody about this a couple of years ago, and they were trying to promote themselves, trying to help themselves get in the Hall of Fame, and I just felt kind of funny. I mean, I retired. It took me 16 years to get in, and it wasn't what I was happy when I got in. My father was still alive, and I could thank my father. That was the most important thing to me. But as I would try to tell the people, it's not getting in the Hall of Fame, I guess, to a point, but it's more that you're even considered to be in that. If your name's even mentioned, and the thing is, I never once ever played hockey in the driveway or out on the golf course going, I'm going to get in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to get in the Hall of Fame. There's only one goal you have in mind. It's Lord Stanley. And so that's your goal. I think the getting into the Hall of Fame, obviously, it's just a tremendous honor. It didn't change how I felt about myself. It didn't change how I felt about my career. I try to express to people, it's how you feel about yourself. In terms, your reward comes from you laid it on the line all those years, and whether somebody else thinks you're worthy or not, it's like during your career. I never ever read a newspaper. I don't need a newspaper guy to tell me whether I'm playing good. You had meetings with coaches. I never needed my coaches to tell me if I'm playing good or bad. My standards for myself were much higher than what they put on me. So I had to play to my expectation. And then when you retire, you walk away with your head high. And I'm one of those people, I don't look back, I look forward. So, I honestly believe for some reason you have to have somebody with power behind you to push to get you in the Hall of Fame. For some reason, I know for years Mike Emmerich tried really hard. Mike called me and I said, Mike, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. But it didn't work me. I didn't even know when the vote was. But for some reason, Scotty Bowman decided to push for me for a year. And when you have that much power, you kind of get the message across. And I think that's why I got into the Hall of Fame. So, like I said, what I was thankful for is like I say, I was away. I was in Costa Rica on a 10-day fishing trip. I was home for 2 days, so I had to run down to my shore house and check on my shore house and on my boat. And then my car headed back home because I got to pack because I was going to Alaska for 2 weeks. And I kept getting this phone call from a 416 area code, which is Toronto. And I didn't know who it was on my caller ID, so I never answered the phone. So then I got a call from the Detroit Red Wings office, and they said there's somebody from Toronto trying to call you. And they want to talk to you about an appearance with your father. And I said, well, my older brother handles that. I don't want to interfere. Have him call my brother. And then so I hung up. Then they called me back again. They said, well, they would really like to talk to you. And I said, yeah, okay. So they called me back, and it was the people from the Hall of Fame. And I knew the voices of the people. So I got that phone call, and yeah, my heart dropped right down to my stomach. But the first thought went in my head is, I can't wait to tell my dad. And so the reward for me is not so much for me. My reward for me came because I know I gave what I had. My reward for me was I had the opportunity to thank the people around me that got me to the level that I was incapable of playing at.
Very good.
All right, we've hit the 7 o'clock hour, and that it can only mean one thing. All right, what does that mean?
So I don't remember, we had in 2 years ago, did we do this then?
I don't believe we did.
so.
Okay. All right, so I have 10 questions for you. Some of them are hockey related and some of them aren't. And I just want sort of the first answer that comes to your mind. And if you have a little story that goes with it, we want to hear that too. So we'll start out with the first one. When you were a kid, were you the type that would eat a bug for 5 months?
Eat a bug for 5 months? No.
Would you say you have watched the movie Slapshot more than 10 times in your life?
No.
Would you say a person who is turning 55 years old is kind of old or really old?
Well, right now I'd say that's really young. You put young on there? Yeah, there you go. Well, when you're 7 years old, you think that's very old. But I'm almost 69, so I think it's very young.
Good answer. Good answer.
If you never played hockey, what do you guess you would have done for a job?
Probably would have been probably an architect.
During your days in Houston, did you mostly eat barbecue or Tex-Mex?
Barbecue, without a doubt.
When you have had peanut butter on bread, have you ever had anything other than jelly?
Never had jelly.
Never had jelly.
No, actually, I rarely ever eat bread. So, but yesterday I had 3 spoonfuls of peanut butter. Yeah.
In 1974, when you won the Lou Kaplan Trophy, did you have any idea who the heck Lou Kaplan was?
Yes, I did.
When you found out you were headed to play for the Hartford Whalers, did you have to ask people, where is Hartford and how do I get there?
No, I definitely knew where Hartford was. So actually, had my father retired, I would have been a Boston Bruin that year. So, but yeah, I definitely knew where Hartford was.
Please rank your top 3 all-time favorite goaltenders to play on the same team with.
Counting All-Star games?
Sure.
I would say I had a great opportunity to play with Jerry Cheevers in the '74 Canada Cup with the WHA. I love playing with Ron Hextall. And number 3. I would say Johnny Garrett, because he always kept the game amusing.
Okay. And last but not least, besides Gordie Howe, in your opinion, who is the greatest hockey player of all time?
I would have to go. My dad and I rarely ever talked hockey. We talked all fishing, just life in general. The odd time we talked about hockey, and I asked him one time, who did he think was the greatest player ever? So I'll go with that answer, Bob York.
Okay. And that's the last minute.
Does anyone remember the dollar bills in Drexel Hill down by Bond Shopping Center? Any dollar bill fans in the house? One?
Got one.
That's the same one every week. I'm looking for 2. Well, that's Bill Mattis, and he brings us the Mattis Minute every month. So kudos to him. He puts it together for us. We have a lot of fun with it. So thanks, Bill. Hey, I want to drop back to the previous conversation about the Hockey Hall of Fame. Let's talk a little bit about the World Hockey Association and the family being inducted in. That's pretty cool, right?
Oh yeah, it's really awesome. So I know everybody. LeBron might be able to do it in basketball, but the best thing about it was so Dad had been retired for 2 years. Came out of retirement. He was 45 years of age. Won the MVP of the league, and he should have won the MVP again the next year. To me, that was the best thing I've ever seen in pro sports. So, but it's nice for the whole family to get in, but for to be a part of it, and be on Dad's line all those years. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Nice, very nice. Questions, comments, anybody? Jimmy Clark, you're the hockey man around here. Come on. Johnny's got a question? You're deferring to the brother?
Right here. Mark, I'm Jimmy's brother. I come on everything he knows.
He told me he fought a lot of the goalie, so I don't know.
The question I have is, you guys are so good taking Edmonton to 5 after the next game. Do you think, I know Ron Hextall would be very good ball. Do you think when the Flyers lost playing dinner, that might have been that one winner that got shot to win the state cup? Because that team was so close right now.
Well, I don't know. I don't, as good as Penley was, the best I've ever seen a goaltender play for 1 year was that year Ron Hextall, in my opinion. So I don't think there was anybody in the world that could have played as good as he did that year, and he did so much to get us to Game 7. Unfortunately, he needed to make 2 more saves, but no, I wished in '85 we were learning. It wasn't quite there yet. But in '87, I just wish we had a healthy Tim Kerr. I don't know, Dave Poulin, I think he had 3 or 4 broken ribs. So he'd go in, he'd spend a half an hour before warm up. I don't know if you've ever seen these needles. They're about this long. They're like a curly cue. And I'd be in there every once in a while getting a needle or 2 myself, but they'd have to do a nerve block on him. And Dave would go out and play 12, 14 minutes, whatever he had, and taking face-offs. And so, I mean, that was 2 of our key players. And I know in '85, Brad McCrimmon was out. Also in '87, very first shift of the first game, I got kneed in the thigh and missed my padding. And if it wasn't for Pat Croce, I probably would have missed a week, 10 days. So I was nowhere near being 100%. But yeah, when you have a lot of your key guys, and I don't know how many players we had out, but everybody that came in and filled that our roster, the depth players, did an outstanding job. But no, I don't. You can't ever look back. And if I did look back, and like I said, there's nothing else we could have done. I was disappointed that we had 2 days rest in between Game 6 and 7 instead of 1 game, because I think we really had them reeling. You wish that had changed, but other than that, no, we gave it all. And that game 7, in the first period, we kind of had Grant Fuhr made a couple of unbelievable saves to keep it from being a 2-goal lead. But the last 40 minutes of the hockey game, if you want to see a championship team play hockey, just watch the Edmonton Oilers in the final 40 minutes. They came at us in waves, and Ronnie Hextall is the one that kept the game close enough. And unfortunately, we didn't get it done. But no, we gave it our all. So I said our heads are held high. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned Tim Kerr being hurt. Carl had Grant Fuhr at the store probably about 1.5 years ago, and we were joking with him, that we should have had a couple of those games. And he mentioned Tim Kerr. He said, if you would have had Tim Kerr there, you would have won that '87 series.
I don't know about winning, but anytime we went into a 7-game series, you got to win 4.
Right.
Inevitably, your goalie wins you 1 game. So that means collectively the 19 guys got to win 3 games. The only thing that was different, having Tim Kerr in your lineup, was Tim Kerr would win 1 out of 7 games by himself when he got hot. So that would be down to 18 guys. You got to win 2 games. But unfortunately, we didn't have Timmy. And we did play. His health was really bad. So, but when you lose a guy that's scoring 50, 60 goals, that's a tremendous loss for your lineup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, for sure.
All right, we're gonna try something here. It's trivia time, and I'm not sure that we can negotiate the whole room with arms flying up, but Lauren accepts the challenge. So,
I'll try to see. I'll hold it up. If you know the answer, raise your hand and I'll try to come to you first.
Don't yell it out either, or you'll win.
and just remember, if you're that damn good, you can only win once.
That is true.
All right?
That is
So let's be Delco nice tonight and give everybody a chance. So, Johnny, take it away.
All right. How many All-Star games was Mark selected to?
Okay, we got a hand.
3.
3's incorrect. Come on.
Ooh.
Mike Schmidt was stumped.
4.
4's incorrect as well.
All right.
5 is
I
correct.
should disqualify him for shouting out the answer.
I know. And his partner in crime.
That's a bad rule right there.
No, he used sign language. Didn't shout it out in sign language. I saw it.
All right, technicalities here.
Tough crowd,
Yeah.
tough hombres.
All right. In what year was Mark inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame?
Did you have a kid? This guy here?
Yep.
Go ahead.
2001.
That is correct. Good job.
All right, I'm throwing the challenge flag because the lady in the green hoodie straight ahead there.
Mark.
Did you have the right answer? No?
Can you plug that in? All right. We're good, yep. All right, today is the anniversary of Mark's number getting retired by the Flyers in what year? That is correct, yep.
There we go.
All right. Mark has the record for the most shorthanded goals by a defenseman with how many?
Yep.
28.
That is correct. That is correct. And what was Mark's first NHL team?
He was drafted by the Boston Bruins.
No, his first, no.
We changed it. We changed-
Somebody in green has to
We're
answer.
going back here, right?
Yes.
The Hartford Whalers.
That is correct. That is correct. Good job.
All right, let Lauren regroup here, and you got another one, John?
All right, we got 2 prizes.
2 left. Oh, one of them was already mentioned. All right, so Ken, this was mentioned a little bit in the show already, but let's see who was paying attention. Can you name the 6 Hals in Mark's family? 6 members of his family. We got an answer here.
Well, I like when it turns them up a little bit, hold on, it's a look.
Come on up.
Oh, now he's not sure.
Oh, now he's questioning himself.
Maybe not.
Oh, here we go, right in the front.
Try? No.
Right in the front
You
there.
wanna try? Okay.
Did you just look on your phone?
Yes.
No!
Oh, man. That was so blatant. That was so blatant. I'll talk her right out of the 6-1.
So, Gordy, Colleen, Mark, Marty, Kathy, and Murray.
There you go. There you go. There we go.
One left.
All right,
Hold on.
here we go. Can anyone name the 5 retired numbers for the Flyers? 6.
We're gonna come up this way, so this is big back on the
Pull your mask down.
16 for Mr. Flyer, Bobby York. 1 for Bernie, 2 for you. 4 for Mary Ashby, 7 for Billy Barber, and 88 for Eric Lindros.
There you go.
Good job, everybody. Good job. All right, we're right around 7:15. If you haven't gotten your free raffle tickets, come on up and see Bardo. He also goes by the name Josh. Oh, he doesn't go by Josh?
No. He doesn't answer to Josh.
All right, well, he's tucked away here in the corner.
Josh.
He's
When
tucked
he's in
away
trouble.
here.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
Wave your hand, Bardo. There you go. Come on up and get your free ones. Come on up and bring some extra dollars, buy some extras. All the money's going back to charity tonight, and we'd like to make a nice donation. So
We also take Venmo and credit card if that's helpful.
there you go. We make it nice and easy. I got an ATM machine over here too.
There you go.
Nice and easy. All right. Anybody online with any questions or anything?
Mark, what do you think of the earlier move with getting Drysdale coming here playing defense? Because him and Sandheim really solidified things a little bit there.
Yeah, it's a welcome addition. So I mean, you have somebody for some reason didn't want to play here, and you get a guy that wants to be here. And like I said, talk about opportunity. And boy, the young defensive, you come here and you're going to have all the opportunity in the world. So yeah, it's hopefully he pans out and continues to improve, and he'll be a Flyer for a long time.
Yeah. How much as a defenseman should we be concerned with the shoulder injuries and having 2 of them now? Is that something, or is that just wear and tear?
No, I mean whether it be a forward or defenseman or any position, injuries are obviously part of it. I think now, even back in the day, we were talking earlier, just maybe 3 miles from here. I had 3 summers where I had to come and work out with Pat Croce just around the corner of the woods from here. And, rehabbing once with my back, once with my shoulder. There's between the doctors, medical care continues to improve every single year in sports. But you have to put the time in. If you're putting the time in, then and the doctors fix what need to be fixed, then yeah, you can prevent injuries from being a part of your career.
Very good. Yeah. We need it back on the ice. You see a difference down in there.
Yeah, and there's when you're in a quote unquote rebuild, the hardest thing you don't have depth. So when you lose 1-2 player, you lose connecting for a while. I know for me, just having Sean Couturier back in the lineup again makes a massive difference up the middle of the rink. So yeah, when you're missing key players and you don't have the depth, it really shows when those players go down.
Right.
So, and this is a difficult question to ask, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. You had a lot of time with the Red Wings. You had a lot of time with the Flyers. Is there any allegiance to either one to this day?
No, I'm really praying for the Red Wings to get in the playoffs. I was very blessed. So, I mean, from 1982 till I retired 3 years ago, I was with 2 of the greatest owners, 2 of the greatest organizations, I think, in the sport of hockey. And, and so I have allegiance to both. I said in my Hall of Fame speech that I remember I talked to, I think it was Ed Snyder previous to going up to Toronto, and all I said to Ed was, I said, I think you're going to like my speech tonight. And I think the part that he would like was, I said, the orange and black will be a part of me forever, and it always will be. So when I came here in '82, I had asked for a trade from Hartford. I'd never ever been on a losing team, and we lost for 2 years. They were getting disgruntled with me. I'd come off with a really bad injury where my career almost lost my life. And I came to the Flyers, and I was brought up with the philosophy is the game is all about team. It's all about winning. It's not about individuals. And from the second I got here, he stepped in that locker room with the leadership of Bobby Clark and Billy Barber. It was all about team, and like I said, having an owner like Ed Snyder, if things weren't going well, you heard about it, but yeah, he was right there behind you the whole way, and from top to bottom, this organization, it was set up the way that I was brought up in the Howe household, and I loved it.
Orange and black, you heard it, folks.
That's right.
Orange and black, new or old era, doesn't matter. Questions, comments, because we're going to get ready to close out the show shortly, and I don't want to miss anyone. We'll have an announcement at the end of the show on how we're going to handle autographs, so you might want to pay attention to that. Raffle prizes right around 8 o'clock, so dig deep. I'm not begging, but I want to give these awesome prizes to some great hockey fans, and there's some great stuff up here. So dig deep, know the money's going to a good charity. And again, how about a big round of applause for Jimmy Clark? It's his birthday. Buy him another beer. He loves hearing it's his birthday.
If you want to text him, you can text him at.
Anyway, what a great owner, great establishment. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I certainly appreciate it. Our guest, hockey royalty, Mark Howe. Come on, you guys can do better than that, please. You guys have parades just to dance down the street. Come on. Come on. So anyway, last call on questions, comments, anything? Anyone?
I have one question. How different is hockey today versus when you were playing and growing up, watching your dad play? Obviously, it's a totally different game, but taking the fighting out of the game and different things.
They haven't taken it out totally, but quite a bit of it.
Right.
They've opened the game up to me. There's, having no red line. The first thing that sticks out is the skill set of the players. It's just there used to be guys that didn't skate very well, but they knew how to defend. Nowadays, everybody skates very well. I think back in the day, guys were a little bit tougher.
Right.
For sure. You go back to the 16 league, and like I said, once a team had a one-goal lead with 10 minutes to go, they were capable of shutting the door.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't think any lead is ever safe at any point in time, just because teams keep going and going. But yeah, like I said, the athletes are just they train year round now. They're in better shape. The game is quicker because they've opened it up. I like the games that are a little bit more physical play.
Right.
So like I said, just being at the Ranger game and seeing that fight the other night, and everybody said, they don't like fighting in the game. Well, I don't know. It seemed like 20,000 people liked it that night, me included. But
Right. Yeah.
But no, it's.
Hendrick was out there, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. So, but even the last 3-4 years that I did scout, I remember one of my comments was I said there's more really good young players coming into the league than I had ever seen before.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that trend is going to continue for a while now.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the athleticism, of the guys playing on the ice, and how the speed of the game too is, I think, a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, I like to see players have to pay a price a little bit more, which you don't see. I really enjoyed the playoffs the last couple of years. I know it was really tough with COVID, and they were playing games without fans, and it just kind of showed the game is really not very good without fans in the stands. So it affects the ebb and flow of the game, the emotions, and yeah, but with the playoffs the last couple of years, high intensity games. I think the referees let it go a little bit more than they do in the regular season. They still call the stick infractions on the hands, but the guys go at it harder, and it's just hard to play an 82 game schedule at that level. But like I said, we're teams are gearing up for the playoffs now. I definitely see it in the games I've seen on TV where the intensity level is always stepping up, and everybody's in their playoff drive already. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see the hockey, improving and growing. And like you said, you get that back when the playoffs come around, the intensity and a little more physical part.
Yeah, well, every year is the same. Yeah, so I mean, you have your preseason, which plays at one level, then the regular season starts and it plays at another level. And then normally January and February are their long, slow months. You'll see the odd stinker of a game in there. But then by the time you roll around to March, yeah, everybody's getting geared up for what you got to do like 6 weeks down the road, and you're putting that push on. Like right now, the Islanders are putting on a push, trying to get in, and that's what it's all about. You're pushing to get in, and like I said earlier, once you get in, you really have a legitimate chance nowadays. Of anybody can beat anybody in the first round. There's no doubt about it. So, which is nice. Like I said, if you go back 25 years ago, I would come back with scouting reports, and I would say if we don't win 4 straight, we had a bad series, and you just don't see that anymore.
Yeah, true.
All right, again, our guest, Mark Cow. How about a big round of applause?
Thank you, baby.
Our next show here will be April 10th, so mark it down, save the date. We'll be making a major announcement as to who's coming. And again, I want to thank Mark for driving 4+ hours.
Yeah.
No, I'll be a little shorter going home, I think.
I hope so. All right, so we're going to conclude with a major announcement, and I want everybody to listen up. We're going to do autographs. Mark needs to get out of here, so we're going to do one per. One per. So, Delco, I need your assistance because the guy behind you is going to kick you in the ass if you go for a second. So, it's one per so we get everybody an autograph, all right? We all good with that? Again, how about a big round of applause for Mark Howe? Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Carl.